It started with the doorbell ringing at 3:03 a.m. I live alone in a creaky old house perched on the edge of a forest, miles from town. My closest neighbors are half a mile down a winding dirt road, separated by thick pines and overgrown brambles. At that hour, the world outside is dead silent, except for the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant hoot of an owl. So, when the bell rang, sharp and insistent, it jolted me awake like a gunshot. At first, I thought it was a prank. Kids from town, maybe, daring each other to trek out here and mess with the weird guy who lives alone. I stayed in bed, staring at the ceiling, waiting for it to stop. But then it rang again. 2 short bursts, followed by one long, drawn-out chime. It wasn't random. It felt deliberate. "Who is it?" I called, my voice trembling despite my effort to sound tough. No answer. Just the hum of silence pressing against my ears. I slid out of bed, bare feet cold against the hardwood, and crept to the front door. The peephole showed nothing but the faint glow of the porch light spilling across the empty driveway. Beyond that, the woods loomed, dark and impenetrable. I let out a shaky breath, locked the deadbolt, and told myself it was nothing. Probably just a malfunction. Old house, old wiring. The next morning, I found the footprints. They were etched into the dew-soaked grass, a clear trail leading from the edge of the woods straight to my doorstep. Bare feet, smallish, like a child's. But there were no prints leading away. Whoever, or whatever, had stood there hadn't left. Or at least, not by walking. That night, 3:03 a.m., it happened again. 2 short rings, 1 long. I didn't call out this time. I just lay there, eyes wide, listening to the faint scratching sound that followed, like fingernails dragging across the wood. By the 3rd night, I was sure I saw something move in the shadows beyond the porch, a flicker of pale skin, a glint of eyes. After a week of this, ID had enough. I stayed up, a baseball bat gripped in my sweaty hands. When the bell rang at 3:03, I flung the door open so hard it crashed against the wall. No one was there. But wedged into the doorframe was a crumpled piece of paper. I picked it up, unfolding it with shaking fingers. 4 words stared back at me, scrawled in jagged handwriting. "Let us back in." I didn't sleep for the next 2 nights. The ringing kept coming, relentless, mocking. I called the police. A bored middle-aged officer showed up, scribbled in his notepad, and shrugged. "Probably just teenagers," he said. "I will drive by tomorrow." I didn't argue. What was the point? That night, the ringing was louder, angrier. 2 short, 1 long. Then the knocking started, slow, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. And then, the whispers. "Let us in! We're so hungry! Please!" The voices were muffled, pressed against the door. I backed away, clutching the bat, my heart hammering in my chest. The whispers grew louder, overlapping into a chorus of desperation. "Don't leave us out here! You promised!" Promised? That word hit me like a punch. I froze, the bat slipping from my grip. A memory flickered. Something I hadn't thought about in decades. A stupid, reckless game we used to play as kids in the woods behind this very house. I grew up in this house. The woods behind it were our kingdom, a maze where my friends, Timmy, Sarah, Matt, and I spent every summer. Timmy was the spark, always pushing us into trouble. The Hollow Pact was his idea, born from a tattered library book about ancient deals with the land. "It's just pretend," he would say with a crooked grin. But what if it's not? The rules were simple. Bring an offering, bury it under the old oak tree in the clearing, and recite the chant. "Take this gift and grant my plea. Bind us together, you and me." It was a silly game. I would wish for a new bike, Sarah for a puppy, Matt for his dad to stop yelling. But Timmy's wishes were always weirder, like to see what's on the other side. The last time we played was late August. The air was thick and humid. We were almost 13, starting to drift apart. I just wanted to go inside, but Timmy wouldn't let it go. "One more time," he said, his voice sharp, something big, something that lasts forever. He pulled out his pocket knife, sliced off a lock of his dark hair, and dropped it into the hole. Sarah sighed and cut a strand of her blonde braid. Matt tossed in a rusted bottle cap. I dug into my pocket and dropped in a quarter, glinting in the fading light. The chant, Timmy said. We recited it together. What's your wish? I asked. Timmy's grin was too wide, too hungry. That we will always come back, no matter what. He pressed his hand into the dirt, sealing the hole, and added a terrifying new rule. And if we call, you have to let us in. The woods went dead still. No birds, no wind. We never played that game again. Timmy drowned the next summer. Sarah died in a car crash at 17. Matt vanished 5 years ago on a hiking trip. I was the last one left. The whispers outside my door clawed at those memories. You promised. The knocking shook the walls. The voices, Timmy's, Sarah's, Matt's, twisted into a chorus of hunger and rage. Let us in! I clutched the bat. It couldn't be them. They were dead. But Timmy's voice cut through the noise clear as day. You're the last one, Danny. You can't leave us out here. Danny. No one had called me that in years. I stumbled to the door, hands trembling as I unlocked it. I cracked it open just a sliver, and the air turned freezing cold. They were there. Timmy stood closest, water dripping from his clothes like he had crawled out of the lake. Sarah's neck was bent unnaturally, her eyes black and endless. Matt loomed behind them, a gaunt frame clawing at the air. You're the last one. Timmy's voice echoed in my head. We kept our promise. Sarah hissed through cracked, bleeding lips. We came back. Matt's skeletal fingers brushed the door. Now let us in! I slammed it shut and bolted every lock. The house groaned, and whispers seeped right through the walls. We're hungry, Danny. So hungry! I finally understood. The Hollow Pact wasn't just a game. It was a binding deal. When Timmy said, we'll always come back, he meant something starved. The pounding stopped abruptly, leaving only the whispers. I sank to the floor. Why did they need me to let them in? Why not just break the door down? Then I remembered the chant, bind us together, you and me. We had tied ourselves to something in the woods that listened. It took them, but they weren't enough. The pact was a circle, and I was the missing piece. Letting them in meant giving myself up. We need you, Danny. It's cold out here. It's empty. I saw my reflection in the kitchen window. They were there, right behind me, their faces melding into one grotesque shape. We're already inside, they rasped. But we can't have you until you say yes. That was it. The pact demanded consent. The doorbell rang again. 3:03 a.m. I didn't open the door. I ran to the shed, grabbed a shovel, and stumbled into the woods. The ancient oak tree stood waiting, its roots twisting through the earth like veins. I started digging frantically. The whispers circled me like vultures. You can't stop it, Danny. My hands bled as I tore through the soil. But there they were. Timmy's graying hair, Sarah's moldy braid, Matt's rusted cap, and my tarnished quarter. I held them up, shaking. Take it back! I screamed into the dark. I didn't mean it! The ground trembled. The whispers turned to a low, guttural laugh. It wasn't theirs anymore. Something else was listening. You fed us. A voice from the earth rumbled, and we kept them. Now we're hungry for more. The tree's roots shifted, curling toward me. I dropped the offerings and ran, but the wood stretched endlessly, looping me right back to the house. The door was wide open, the lock shattered. They were waiting inside. We don't want to hurt you, Timmy pleaded softly. We just want to be whole again. Sarah stepped closer. It's not so bad, Danny. It's quiet, it's together. Matt's hollow eyes locked on mine. Say yes, finish it. The knife slipped from my hand. The air grew heavy, and I felt it. The hunger, theirs and mine, pulling me toward them. The police found the house empty the next morning. On the kitchen counter, in my handwriting was a note. They always come back hungry. But I wasn't gone. I was with them, under the oak tree, where the roots had pulled me down. The hunger wasn't just theirs. It was the thing we had fed, the thing we had bound ourselves to. It had waited decades for me to complete the circle. And now, it's full. For now. But it will get hungry again, and it will call someone else.